back, guys, to another reaction video.
To some scary videos.
Oh my god, what was that? Don't ever do that again. I'm kidding. Chill! Chill!
Okay, we're good.
Blast the block. Enemy is not an option. We all listen now, we go dance and start. Sing Salavina,
man. Why were you gone? You just skeet skirted to Narnia.
I went over there because okay, no, let's just play the video.
Okay, what we're gonna be watching is
some Lama arts. Link in the description. Their channel.
Why is everything?
So link in the description to.
I didn't say anything.
Link in the description to their.
Trying to highlight this one thing. Trying to highlight this one thing and it's not highlighting it. There we go.
Link in the description to Lama Arts channel, and because they do really cool animations, and that's what we're gonna be watching. And they're really scary. So if you guys want to see this video or other videos that they made, go check them out because they are good.
Spoopy.
They're spoopy.
Or very spoopy.
Very spoopy. Alright, let's get into it. By the way, we're gonna try not to get scared.
It was a typical boring day in calculus, only it was Friday, 7th period, meaning the week was almost over and spring break would finally be upon us, so everybody was getting antsy in their seats, I could tell. We didn't have a test that day like a lot of my friends did with their other teachers, so our teacher in the middle of class just decided to start playing games with us on Sporkle.com. He was a very laid-back teacher like that. As we were doing some brand logo quiz on Sporkle, I remember the exact moment it happened. Right after my friend answered a question, I remember the exact answer too, Adidas. The dean's voice came through the loudspeaker. He sounded panicked and frantic as he told all the teachers this was not a drill and to go into lockdown. I actually got the chills and I got goosebumps on my arms as our usually laid-back teacher too seemed panicked as he ran to turn off the lights and ushered us to the back corner of the room. We all sat in silence for about 2 minutes, and then the usual buzzing that came from a panel in the back of the room ceased, indicating that the school must have cut all the power. We all looked at each other, realizing this must be serious. A few more minutes of waiting later, we heard a man screaming at the top of his lungs coming down the hallway. 2 girls in the class actually started crying, which made all of us even more scared. As the screaming got closer to the classroom, the lunatic-sounding man started banging on the lockers while screaming, "I'll kill all of you." It was at that moment that I started to fear for my life. My teacher shushed us as we all looked at each other to see our peers' reactions. The banging then moved from the lockers to our classroom door,
I guess why is there someone already shut his
and that's when one of the crying girls screamed no. The banging on the door only grew worse as the man started screaming, "Open up." 2 of the girls in the class were crying out loud now. It felt like an eternity that man was pounding at the door, but eventually he finally continued down the hallway, screaming like a mentally insane person until we could not hear him anymore. I'd say 10 minutes later, though it felt like half an hour given the situation, the dean came back on the loudspeaker explaining the situation, which was surprising for him to do. He explained that some apparently mentally unstable person entered the building and assaulted the woman sitting at the front desk, causing her to flee the building screaming, and staff wasn't sure if the man was armed or not. Now this was before the school had cameras or could afford proper security, so the school was wide open to something like this happening. The staff had done a sweep of all the hallways and classrooms and couldn't find him, so the dean instructed the teachers to resume teaching but to keep all the doors locked and to not let any students leave for any reasons.
Everything's fine.
The most disturbing part, however, is that one of the janitors working the night shift found the man sleeping in one of the storage closets near the back end of the school, and according to rumors that were spread by my peers, sticking out of his pocket was a .44 Magnum.
Take the gun. Boy,
The janitor must have done something stupid to wake him up, for example, leaving the closet door open, because by the time a police officer could arrive on the scene, the man was gone.
So,
My entire class, as far as I know, to this day, has no idea if this man was ever found, but I like to think that right now, he's being given the proper help that he needs.
he needs some milk. Dehydration nation.
Dehydration nation.
Let's watch another one.
Yeah, let's watch another one.
We're gonna do another one.
We're gonna do another story.
It's called The Roommate.
Yeah, we're doing another story. It's called The Roommate. And
Stop.
it's called The Roommate.
It's called The
It's called The Roommate. It's The Roommate. But like this one, just by the thumbnail looked freaky.
Yeah.
The thumbnail was not okay.
It was scary.
It looked like you just tried smoking.
Oh, baby.
Go, puff, puff. Okay, guys.
Anyways.
But don't mind that. Please, dear God, help me.
Looking for a new roommate is always a daunting task. Even though you interview and take the time to get to know that person, you don't truly find out who they are until you start living with them.
No.
I had begun searching for a roommate after I decided to leave my current residency. I was contacted a couple of hours after placing an ad on the
Where's the quality up? Boop. Boopy. It's very spoopy.
Yeah.
It's very spoopy. Now I gotta set it right back to normal. Cause it ain't doing crap.
What have you done?
I don't know. Oh my God, ladies and gentlemen, we will be right back when this thing is better. As soon as we stopped, it went back to normal. Jinx, you owe me freaking 10 sodas.
That was not planned.
That was not planned at all.
Both of the things we just said. Okay.
Couldn't be any more pixels.
Hey Chris, I'll be moving out of my current apartment this August and I'm looking to room with someone new, as my roommates are moving to California this year. I'm 27 and I'm currently going to school. When I'm not at school, I enjoy hiking and watching movies. I also apprentice at a taxidermy shop.
Whoops. Boy. Bruh moment. Bruh. When you're reading
like,
your friend's text to you, it's just like, I found a guy looking in my window. Bruh.
He's like, I don't give a shit.
I really don't care. I could die for all I care.
When I'm not at school, I enjoy hiking and watching movies. I also apprentice at a taxidermy shop on the days I don't have class. Hope that's not weird. It's always been a fun hobby of mine.
Nobody cares about
Anyway,
your life
I'm looking
story,
forward to hearing
okay?
back from you. Have a great day. Lunaire.
My first and most obvious reaction after reading the message was to check her profile. She was of medium height, had long, messy blonde hair and green eyes. In her profile picture, I saw her standing with a man and a woman shoulder to shoulder. They each adorned goofy grins and held up peace signs. Under the photo, the caption read, "Love my roommates." I smiled to myself and decided to send her a message back. The sun beat down on us as we hoisted various objects to the second floor of our new apartment. It took us a couple days to get everything out of the moving trucks and into our new place, but as soon as we did, a wave of relief washed over our sweat-drenched and sore bodies. After a couple more hours of rearranging, we each grabbed a beer from the fridge and sat on the porch. We reminisced about old 90s cartoons and what video games we obsessed over as kids, and as the sun started to set, I truly felt relaxed and confident that things were going to work out. A week later, I started a new job for a construction company that was owned by a good friend of mine. As I was getting ready, I heard the front door
He
swing
looks
open.
like a different kind
I
of
walked into
animation
the
code.
living room to see Lunaire and her friend David sliding in a large box. "What you got there?" I asked. Through a strained grunt, she replied,
I bought a freezer to store some of the animals I'm planning on using in my taxidermy work.
Some
I
of
hope
the
that's all right.
animals?
I was obviously hesitant at first, as there was no mention of this happening in the first place, but
Some
I
of the what?
eventually accepted and returned to my room
Animals?
to
What?
continue getting ready for work. I came home at around 9 p.m. after having a couple of beers with friends and noticed that the freezer was nestled snugly in the lower part of the pantry. A low hum could be heard reverberating
hallway
off of
that's
the inner
probably a lot.
walls. I was curious to see what was inside, but didn't want to intrude on Lunaire's business, so I went into my room and changed into more comfortable clothing.
Chin. Like,
After
no, he
changing, I
sneezes
came
and
back
he's
out into the
gonna
kitchen
stab
and started
himself.
making a sandwich. I opened the fridge and grabbed what I needed. As I turned around, I stubbed my toe on the edge of the iron countertop and let out a long,
it's so
exasperated
relatable.
grunt. Through my frustration, I slammed the
Animated
fridge door
dramatic.
shut and checked my toe to see if there was any bleeding. As I raised my head back up, I was greeted by a shadowy
That's
figure. Lunaire was standing in the doorway leading to her room. The darkness behind her almost seemed to envelop her.
Is everything okay?
She said in a deadpan tone. "Shit, yeah, I'm sorry. I just slammed my toe into the corner of the countertop as I was making a sandwich. I hope I didn't wake you,"
It's fine.
she said in the same deflated tone as before. She then turned around and walked back into the darkness of her room. I could tell that she was pissed, so I quietly made my sandwich and retreated back to my room
Slap
as well,
down.
only hearing the low hum from the freezer as I closed my door. I had the next day off, so I was able to sleep in a little longer than
Be
usual.
walking like he's trying to
When I
go to
finally
sleep.
emerged from my room,
know,
I
it's
walked
either
into
like-
the kitchen to make breakfast. As I opened the refrigerator, I noticed that the light wasn't turning on and there was a lack of cold air escaping from inside. I turned around and flipped the light switch to confirm my suspicion. Sure enough, the power was out.
Then why so bright?
I muttered under my breath.
That's
I
bright,
walked over
it's
to
the morning.
Lunaire's room and knocked
Oh.
on her door to tell her about the power outage if she didn't already know, but there was no answer. I then remembered that she had classes that day and probably wasn't home. I walked back to the kitchen and past the pantry.
There's a
As I
lock on
did,
the
I slipped on the
freezer.
floor but was able to catch myself on the
Why?
countertop. "What the?" I angrily exclaimed as I looked down at the floor trying to figure out what I had slipped on.
Blood.
It was blood. It had started to leak from the corner of the freezer and pool onto the floor.
His body.
I quickly
There'd
tried
be
to
a
open the
dead body
freezer
like
to
that.
find out the cause of the viscous
It's
liquid,
locked, dude.
but then I noticed that it had a padlock attached
Of
to
course
it.
he's dead.
I don't remember seeing that before. I ran out to my car and grabbed my toolbox from the back seat. I approached the freezer and set my tools down on the nearby countertop. I then pulled out a small pair of bolt cutters and snapped through the metal of the padlock. It fell to the ground with a large thud. I creaked open the top of the freezer and was greeted with a putrid stench that permeated my nostrils.
Green guy.
I quickly pinched my nose and walked away gagging in response. I guess I should have realized that was gonna happen, I muttered to myself in between gags. After gaining my composure, I grabbed some gloves from under the sink and started taking inventory. I could see a couple of dead birds in plastic bags wedged into the corners of the freezer. I took each bag out and set them in the trash can nearby. That's when I noticed that the blood was coming from the corner of the larger black bag. I don't know why, but I decided to open the top of the bag and peer inside. I was greeted by large, milky white eyes, a swollen black tongue surrounded by cracked and bloated lips, and the matted hair of a human head. I swiftly dropped the bag and fell backwards onto the floor. My breathing had ceased to exist, and I grabbed the trash can next to me and expelled my disgust into it. I then ran out the door, got into my car, and called the police. As I sat in the interrogation room with a blanket over my shoulders, I couldn't help but think about the face I'd seen. It looked so familiar. That's when it finally hit me. I pulled out my phone and looked at Lunaire's profile picture. It was her old roommate. The one she said was moving to
That was
California.
her old roommate.
When the detective entered
now
the
he-
room, she started the questioning process. asking me if I started noticing any weird behavioral occurrences around the apartment. Yeah, I stubbed my toe the other day and she creepily stood in the doorway. It seemed like she was pissed, but for some reason I had a strange feeling like she was concerned about something. That's when I can.
He just stuck. He's thinking about it. He's like, we are going to be right back when it resumes. Okay, ladies and gentlemen. Alright. Okay, it's back to normal. Yay.
Yeah.
The dots. She didn't come out into the kitchen because she heard me stub my toe. She came out into the kitchen because she thought I slammed the freezer instead of the fridge. A cold sweat started to form on my forehead as my surroundings became blurred. I could hear a low whine slowly starting to cover up the words of concern from the detective. As my vision started to clear, I could see another officer enter the room and whisper something into her ear as he handed her a piece of paper. "Do you have somewhere you could stay at?" she asked. I mean, I was planning on staying with my parents. They live about 30 minutes outside of town. Okay, she paused. Listen, I don't want to worry you, but we found this picture inside of your apartment. She slid the piece of paper across the table, and I immediately felt like someone kicked me in the chest. The head of Lunaire's other roommate sat on the chair. In the background, scrawled on the wall in blood, read, "Love my roommates. All of them."
Wow. That was very spoopy. And I'm glad we're ending on that. Okay. I'm trying to end the video. I'm gonna slap you so hard. I freaking peed myself just then. Stayed over there. Bye. Bye. I hope you guys enjoyed that video. Bye. 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 Okay, Jesus.